my Kenvians, and welcome to a new episode of Discovering Doctor Who. Today I'm going to be watching the third episode of the 11th series of the modern era of Doctor Who, and it is called simply Rosa. Now, I didn't know the title of the episode at the end of the previous video, and I don't know what the next one is going to be. I might sort of skip ahead to see if it mentions it, possibly. But, yeah, the Rosa being mentioned in this particular episode is none other than Rosa Parks. So they're going to America, which is surprising to begin with, but also they're going back to historical figures, which is something that is still done, but a lot of times, especially in recent series, it feels like those historical times have been more of a mention as opposed to, or meeting these historical figures is more of a mention as opposed to us actually getting to see it. And funnily enough, the third episode of the first series with Eccleston in it was the episode that really pulled me into Doctor Who when I first started watching the show. So I'm really interested to see how this goes. And and just so you know, in case you don't, I guess, that was the episode where they met a historical figure known as Charles Dickens. Yes. Anyway, let's begin Rosa and see how well some of these American accents are going to be, because chances are some of them might be bad. I don't know. Depends on how many Americans are actually in this episode. Regardless, I'll shut up now. Let's begin! Oh. All the way to the bus already. Wait, did she get off the bus? But I thought she didn't get off. Well, I mean, that's it. I thought she didn't get off. Oh, no. Hello? Who the hell are you?
Rosa Parks can't.
Rosa Parks doesn't.
She can live here all life. A couple of hours ain't gonna kill her.
I don't know, dude.
Not if we look out for each other. Nah, not that one. Second hand. Huge mileage. One careless owner. Mind you. It's better than a vortex manipulator. By the one. Don't worry. Special pen.
No, pack it in. You ain't Banksy.
Or am I? Bathroom.
Seriously.
Very seriously.
I'm talking. You know, I happen to know a couple of mongrels. Negro boy. Mexican girl.
I don't recognize anyone by that description.
Meet you back at the motel later.
Ryan?
Should he be by himself?
Be careful.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be by himself.
I hope so. Smash your vortex manipulator. Yeah, there it is. Kicking in. Tied to your brain chemistry.
Okay.
Can't harm me.
This is Mr. Fred Gray.
Is that
And this,
Martin?
Dr. King from Dexter Avenue Baptist Church.
What? Martin Luther King.
Ah!
Correct.
Oh, thank God. Okay. I thought they were gonna do some weird thing where history actually did change.
Broken down and tired.
Oh my God. Why am I so high-strung this episode? This episode Holy crap. I'm... I don't... God, I'm gonna stutter more than usual this time. I don't even know how to put it for that one. This was a phenomenal episode. I mean, let me just say, I made the comment when it started about, you know, how well they would do with accents, and I mean, I'm not a person who can easily pick out, you know, when someone's imitating an American accent or someone's imitating a British accent, so on and so forth, unless it's especially bad. But I think they did a really good job. I think they did a good job of imitating the Southern accents from, well, I mean, not only back then, but I mean, there's still a lot of people who talk that way today. So, yeah, my joke about the accents aside, I really liked this episode. It was... I'm trying to think of sort of a historical episode that stands up to it, but I can't... I think this is the first time that I've experienced. Again, I haven't gone through the classic era except for, like, you know, small portion of the first Doctor so far. But as far as focusing on a historical icon and telling their story, this is the most impactful one I've seen by far. I feel like they did an excellent job of portraying just the struggle of living back then, the struggle of people trying to fight back. I mean, of course, there's only so much they can do in the span of this one episode, and it goes way beyond what they portrayed. But yeah, it was just really well done. And that song at the end, what was it? Rise Up. I think it showed the artist is Andra Day. That was a beautiful song. Absolutely beautiful. I'm sure I won't be able to include it on the YouTube portion or the YouTube version of this video, but yeah, I mean, if you watch this episode or if you're watching the full version, it is a beautiful, beautiful song. And the fact that they actually had it playing instead of the Doctor Who theme in the outro, I think it just adds to how powerful that song is. It was so powerful, like, to play the Doctor Who theme would have been a disservice to it, I think. As for, like, other than that particular song, some of my other favorite aspects, while we're on the topic of music, obviously this doesn't have a track name, but the music that was playing while they were doing their investigations, when Yaz was doing her research trying to figure out the timeline, not so much Ryan, because there wasn't really an investigation song when he was doing his part, but yeah, just like the investigation theme, I guess you would say. It was really well done. It just had this very energetic and not quite mysterious, but energetic and almost foreboding kind of tone to it. And I really, really liked. So yeah, that melded in really well with what was going on in the episode. Another favorite part, I hate to call this a favorite part, but again, just the portrayal of the attitudes and the people back then was very solidly done. Unless you're watching a movie in many cases, or just a very serious drama, whereas this is a family show, I did not expect them to show the kind of Southern Americans from the 1950s the way they did. I almost expected it to be, you know, kind of goofy. These characters is like, you know, they're prejudiced, but they're hilarious and stupid, you know, something like that. But no, they went straight on. Like, I would have believed those people existed in Montgomery, Alabama back then. Sad to say, I probably know some people that they remind me of that are not from the 1950s. But, yeah, just, and maybe that's why I was so on edge. The combination of the fact that, you know, they killed off an amazing character, but also the way they portrayed the attitudes of the police, of just typical people walking around, just regular white people, but if a black man approaches, it's just, you know, the gloves are off potentially. And they actually made a reference to a lynching. I mean, including the boy who got killed. It's like, you know, the one that Rosa referred to at the beginning. I can't remember the name of the kid, but it's another historical event. But like when they referred to Ryan, like possibly getting lynched, that just the idea that something like that potentially could happen. I don't think the show would go that far as to even like make it close to that possibly happening, but in my mind it was a possibility, and that just made me so on edge. And I think that's another reason why I love this episode so much. This is the like, there have been episodes that have made me very sad, very emotional. I honestly think that this is the first time I've ever watched a Doctor Who episode and just everything inside of me was tense. It's like, because that, what's his name? Krasko, whatever his name is. He kept referring to, you know, making these tiny little changes. And what if it had ended up that they changed history? No, it was far more powerful, obviously, that they kept it the way it is. It's like, you know, they accomplished their goal. They kept history the way it should be. But part of me was still just dreading this idea of, like, you know, there's the slightest change, and maybe there still is this change. Like, maybe Krasko's gonna be a returning character despite the fact that he was sent to whenever. And, like, enough of a slight change was made that he'll be able to do something else. I don't know. I just don't know. But yeah, this episode just, it really took it out of me. Like, I feel physically exhausted from just not knowing what was going to happen. And honestly, I think that's one of the most amazing feelings I've ever had in a Doctor Who show, because, you know, there have been things that have taken me by surprise. But it's all, like, the majority of it is usually based around science fiction. It's based around our main characters, not a historical figure, not such an important historical figure. And maybe there's not a good way of me truly defining how it made me feel, but it was very powerful in the end. And then the fact that it did incorporate the main characters for this series, but it wasn't them saving the day. It was them having to do nothing. It was them having to do nothing while this amazing woman, this woman who at the time, she's just an ordinary woman, but who became one of the biggest figures in civil rights through the years. I can't disagree with Graham. I would have been extremely reluctant to not help her out as well. Yeah, God. Oh, I'm rambling even more than usual because it's hard for me to pin down just everything that this episode made me feel. One thing that I really did find interesting, and I'm not sure if it's been referred to in the past as far as Doctor Who goes, but Storm Cage. It's a jail that the Doctor is obviously familiar with, but I can't remember the name ever being brought up. If it has, a lot of you have amazing memories. If it has been mentioned before, please do let me know in the comments, because I just simply cannot remember Storm Cage. But I keep feeling like as we get these different details thrown in, I can't help but wonder if Storm Cage is going to be a significant plot point, potentially, through this series. Again, whether this Krasko guy comes back. I don't know. Maybe I'm just overthinking it and they won't be. Maybe they'll just be sort of one-off characters. But I have a feeling that might not be the case. I feel like this is going to be one huge, bizarre, chaotic story arc, potentially. But yeah. What aside from that? Oh, there was a quote from Rosa, and I hope that I got it written down correctly, because I tried to write it down as quickly as possible. But it's when Yaz is asking her about how she does it, how she, keeps going when it's so hard, how she keeps fighting. She says, when today's not working, you've always got tomorrow. She keeps living for tomorrow. And that was just a beautiful quote in my eyes. If I did get it wrong, and I don't catch it before this video goes out, please do let me know the correct quote. But I think that captures the spirit of it, if nothing else. But I really do like that quote, and it's one that I feel a lot of people that aren't me will probably have significant meaning in, or they're able to feel more significant feelings towards. I understand the strength behind those words. I understand what it means. There's a lot of people that live that kind of thing every day, even today, that it's just me being able to empathize and sympathize does not match up to that feeling. I hope that makes sense. And finally, I think that reference, or when she shows them the asteroid, and that's another thing I'm curious about. Like, did scientists actually name an asteroid after Rosa Parks? Like in reality, because I don't recall that being a thing, but then again, my memory sucks, and a lot of the useless trivia I have in my brain overrides things that could potentially be important. But yeah, I found the asteroid really interesting, and also, I'm curious whether or not that asteroid might be tied to Krasko somehow. Because Krasko is from the future. And he's talking about how that's when things started to go wrong. Why that particular instance? Does it have to do with her connection to that asteroid? Even if it's just by name. Or could it be as simple as, yeah, there's white supremacists, extremely racist people that far in the future. I wouldn't doubt it a bit. I wouldn't. But, I don't know, I feel like maybe there's more to the connection there than they're showing firsthand. Like, there's going to be a deeper meaning, and maybe that asteroid has something to do with it. I just don't know. But yeah, as far as annoyances go, I don't have any. I don't have any for this episode. It was really well done. Maybe the Martin Luther King cameo wasn't fully necessary, but it makes sense that they would include him in there, since it was known that him and Rosa Parks knew each other and they would meet and discuss things. But yeah, overall, I can't think of any annoyances, really, any negatives for this episode. It hit hard, it struck me hard, it was very powerful, and I just love it. This is going to be an episode to go back and rewatch, without a doubt. Without a doubt. I have a feeling that potentially the entire series might be that way, but this episode for sure. And going back to how, it was the third episode of the first series in 2005 that really pulled me in, with Charles Dickens. It gives me a lot of hope that as much as I enjoyed this series already, just 3 episodes in, the fact that the third episode of the series back then is the one that got me invested in Doctor Who, and this one just hit me as hard as it did, I think is a very good sign. I think it's a very good sign for this series. I truly, truly do. And it has me extremely excited for next week when we'll get another episode of Doctor Who. Anyway, everyone, thank you so much for being here for this episode of Discovering Doctor Who. Thank you, as always, for listening to me ramble. It's a common thing, I know. But I'm really looking forward to next week. And as always, if you all have anything you'd like to say, whether it's in regard to the episode, what I had to say about the episode, please do leave it in the comments down below. Yeah, I'm just intrigued on hearing what you have to say, and maybe you disagree with me. Maybe you found this to be not as impactful of an episode as I did, and I'd really like to know why, if that's the case. Let's keep it civil. Let's keep things... let's not make any things offensive. I'm just going to say this for everyone, but I'm interested to hear what you have to say, whether you enjoy this episode like I did or not. I'll leave it at that. Everyone, I will see you next time on the next episode of Discovering Doctor Who. Allons-y!